Superman 2025, an essay on why I was wrong for being so critical and why I now love this film. As a Superman fan who was extremely mean and unfair to this movie when it first released back in July, I have now watched this movie for the third time without hesitation. I can't stop rewatching Superman by James Gunn, as the music and over-the-top action has sucked me in like no other superhero movie has done for me in quite a while. I dare say the soundtrack of this film may top John Williams' score from the Christopher Reeve movies. David Corenswet has not only grown on me as Superman, but I feel now he was a great choice. His more light-hearted take on Superman is the right direction. Of course, not just because this is more in line with the comics, but it also makes Superman in this movie increasingly relatable compared to the Snyder vision of Henry Cavill, who, to be fair, I always criticized as Clark Kent and loved his Superman for the hardcore fighting style he had in Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. But as Superman, I never really liked Cavill too much. Reeves was the crown jewel in my eyes even then. Having watched Cavill's movie countless times since 2013, I never really felt a relatable spark between me and Cavill's rendition of Superman. Christopher Reeve's Superman I felt and still feel to be the superior cinematic Man of Steel in how he looks and acts, a pure image of the original comic book Superman that will remain recognizable for any generation or era. Yet Corenswet hits a sweet spot that both of the previously mentioned men lack to some degree. Corenswet's vulnerability, his emotional temperament, makes more sense contextually as I've rewatched this movie. Clark's argument, for instance, with Lois Lane about intervening in geopolitical issues she thinks he has no say in or jurisdiction with. Clark explains how he only cares about saving lives, making it crystal clear to Lois he represents no government or political ideology. His only motivation is to protect, preserve life, liberty, and do the right thing. This more open and clear moral stance Clark takes in this film is the right thing to do because Superman is just that. A superhero who saves lives, creatures, a true paragon that is impossible for any mortal to become. Political lines and divides he cannot be a part of. Politics, of course, will always want something to do with Superman, to corrupt his pure idealism, his humanism, yet he is a Kryptonian born and raised in Candace. Thanks to having the best of both worlds, Superman can always be above the petty squabbles of man. This film is unafraid to show Superman despair at the horror and war. Great moments occur, for example, when he is captured by Lex Luthor in the pocket dimension, and Lex executes an innocent food vendor named Malik to get Superman to answer questions Superman cannot answer because they are false leading. Like, who are you working with? Superman is not working with anyone. Who raised you as a child? Superman will not expose his mother and father, Pa Kent and Ma Kent. Malik goes out of his way to tell Superman he has no kids, and it's basically worth dying for Superman. Malik's belief in the Man of Steel in this moment is unquestioning, tragic, simply beautiful. This shows the positive effect Superman has on people, and why he feels so obligated to do what he does. The movie might have made a weird choice, making Ma and Pa Kent goofy compared to previous iterations, the 1978 movie and 1994 TV show being more accurate in their representations, to the sexy Diane Lane in the Snyderverse. But Gunn does a good job to show they were a good family that took care of Clark. The best part that illustrates this so well happens after Lois brings Clark back home after escaping the Pocket Universe. Clark has a short but very nice moment with Pa Kent, who Ma Kent sweetly calls a mush. This decision to keep the father in the movie was perfect because I prefer the father to be alive, much like in the John Byrne run, or even the goofy Lois and Clark 1994 TV show. I always considered killing off the father in Man of Steel to be one of the dumbest things in superhero movie history. No superhero, if they could control it, would allow their father or mother or any loved one to die in such a manner. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man found Uncle Ben after being shot by the crook he let go. He didn't let Uncle Ben die to hide his identity. The 1978 Superman movie was more realistic. Pa Kent died of a heart attack while on the farm, contrasted with the beautiful and dreamlike cinematography of Candace farmland. In 1978 situation, what would Superman be able to do? He cannot make a man immortal, so his father dying of a heart attack felt more natural and sad. When Kevin Costner stupidly died in Man of Steel from a tornado, it made me look at the whole thing with a, wow, that's really retarded point of view. The notion of going so far to hide your identity is anti-human. Even in the Supergirl CW show, Kara always used her powers before she was Supergirl to save a life when she could, despite being told not to. In Season 1, after 12 years of hiding, she revealed herself to the world because her sister Alex almost died in a plane crash. Alex had the Kevin Costner attitude and would have made Kara not save her if she could. But Kara used her heart to save her loved one. That's what Clark should have done in Man of Steel, and that's the damn truth. After his insane fight with Ultraman, which is the subject for another video, Superman confronts the sniveling version of Lex played by Nicholas Hoult, who admits his nasty envy towards Superman just for his very existence. Lex, being a personification of human genius perverted by one of the deadly sins called jealousy, devoting his genius and every fiber of his being to destroying Superman, Lex has a very Gene Hackman-like master plan to take over Jarampar and become king of that land in alliance with Baravia. This is reminiscent of Hackman's plan in 1978 to split the California Fault and own California. That plan, however, is only the surface. The overall machinations of creating conflict, chaos, and confusion through the Baravian invasion, the pocket universe rift that almost destroys the world, all of this is the amalgamation of Lex's desperation and genius bringing the world to annihilation by a hair's ass, all to kill the Man of Steel. Lex has a final speech on being aware of his envy every waking moment. That at least Galileo wasn't some dopey Venusian catapulted onto this planet just to have the world fawn over him because his strength illuminates how weak we really are. He goes on to say, "So, my envy is a calling, the sole hope for humanity. It is what has driven me to annihilating you." And then the fight bursts into a defiant Lex Luthor having Ultraman beat the shit out of Superman, only to be foiled with the help of Krypto the Superdog. This line perfectly encapsulated Lex's motivations in this film to expose him as the insecure megalomaniac he is. I still wish he had an older, more beefy Lex Luthor to deliver the lines, but Nicholas Hoult did okay here. Nonetheless, this view that Lex has of Superman, exposing man's weakness, goes back to the underlying philosophy of Snyder's vision, whether intentionally or accidentally. Henry Cavill being this unrelatable godlike figure with the broodiness of Hamlet, contrasting him with David Corenswet, who, throughout James Gunn's film, it is enforced to us, the viewer, that Superman is the best of the best, not just because of his physical godlike powers, but because of his mental optimism, hope, and love. And so here Lex's argument does not convince us, the viewer. The best scene to encapsulate this feeling for me was when Metropolis was falling to pieces from the rift. The citizens were all running away on the bridge. One last woman's car shuts down on her, trapping her to be crushed by a falling building. Superman came to save her life. When she drives away and looks back, Superman flies out from the rubble to look on in the distance. If that scene along with the score didn't give you any good feelings, then you need to check your pulse. Lex Luthor calls Superman a piece of shit alien. Superman tells Lex that's where his greatest mistake lies, that Superman is also a human who makes mistakes, one foot after the other trying his best. This speech is not only great because of Corrin Sweat's heartfelt performance, but because it's true. Yes, Superman is a Kryptonian from Krypton, although one mistake this movie makes is it refers to Superman as a metahuman in an introduction of the movie. He is not a metahuman. He is a Kryptonian alien who was raised on Earth. Despite that small error in the writing department, Corrin Sweat's Superman gets the concept perfectly. Despite his godlike powers and alien origin, Clark is more human spiritually. He loves, he cries, he hurts, he gets pissed off. He feels despair or apathy at times, like when he learned his parents really sent him to Earth to conquer it, not serve it. He makes mistakes, but he certainly tries to do good with the powers that he has been gifted. While Snyder clearly understood this concept when he famously said, "Superman is just a boy from Kansas trying to do his best," the overall execution in Snyder's films failed to really sell this message. Hence all of the frailties, vulnerabilities, emotions of Corrin Sweat's Superman, making him even more relatable. This message is further made in how Superman operates in the battlefield or the heat of the moment. From wanting to save even the giant monster trampling on Metropolis that Lex Luthor let loose, to the dog and squirrel almost getting stomped on and saving them, protecting the little girl from exploding propane tanks, carrying Metamorpho's baby through an anti-proton river in the Pocket Universe. Each life Clark puts so much effort in to save and protect, Gunn truly captures Superman in terms of hope and compassion like no other. Trying his best to avoid hapless casualties and deaths, he is a stark comparison to the wanton, unthinking clod, Henry Cavill Superman, with the Doomsday fight in Batman vs. Superman being an exception. Where the Justice Gang sees no other solution to the rampaging beast, Superman saw any other way to preserve the creature's life in a cosmic zoo. So when Mr. Terrific sent out one of his T-spheres to explode the internal organs of the monster, Superman's disgust of that solution even makes you feel sorry for a kaiju monster. The contrast of the Justice Gang's methods due to their limitations compared to the Man of Steel only makes Superman shine even more. This is emphasized also when Hawkgirl kills the bloated, corrupt leader of Baravia. Superman would never murder a man that way. To go on the hapless destruction concept, in Man of Steel, Henry Cavill wrecked Metropolis so hard with Zod that it made Batman go mad and do a Punisher roleplay when fighting crime in Gotham. Batman became so inured, so filled with anger, he wanted to kill Superman. Superman, instead of being a symbol of hope in Snyder's films, transformed into a harsh reminder of the weakness of man, the mortality of man, and the needless destruction of men. This version of Superman in Snyder's film fits more in line with James Gunn's Lex Luthor and his criticisms of the Man of Steel. The emphasis more on his godlike powers against Zod, Steppenwolf, creates a disconnect of Henry Cavill. With Doomsday killing Henry Cavill, one would think this moment would further humanize Henry Cavill's Superman, but it still always felt like a battle of gods in Olympia. Being mourned and carried down from the rubble wrapped in his cape by Wonder Woman and Batman, Lois crying over Superman's body only brought Christ-like imagery, further creating a distance between the viewer and Superman in terms of being relatably human. To add to the dissonance making Cavill less human was when the Justice League had to resurrect him, and Snyder thought it would be a good idea to dress Superman in all black, which always pissed me off regardless. So with Cavill being broody, serious, and godlike, the connection factor was practically at zero in the Snyderverse. Just for the record, I still love the Snyder movies, but Gunn's vision injects a more colorful, hopeful, Silver Age dose of insulin that the cinematic Superman world desperately needed. There is so much I now love about David Corenswet's Superman, but this covered enough ground as of now. I will make separate videos to break down the beauty of the action scenes as well. I'm putting my regular scheduled projects on hold for this because I believe it is important to put this on the record that I have had a change of heart for this film. Thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts. Like and subscribe.